Forum. Thank you, everyone, for showing up tonight. I will open the Town of Bridgewater Finance Committee meeting for October 15th at 6:06 p.m. And our first order of business is the approval of meeting minutes from June 17th, 2024. We have a motion. Comments?
Motion to approve?
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Thank you. Josh, if you could do a roll call, please.
Nate,
I will abstain.
MJ,
Yes.
Rig,
Aye.
Catherine,
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
All right, thank you, everyone. Moving on to our next order of business is public comment. If we do have any public comment, I ask that you state your name and the street address for the public record. Do we have any public comment?
I don't think we have anyone here from the public.
Okay, not hearing any public comment, we'll move on to our next item of business, which is old business. I don't see anything here on the schedule. We do have a little bit of a time concern this evening. So without any objections, I will move on to new business. All right, not hearing anything. Our first order of new business is FY 25-013, a transfer order, salary to expense. Lori, if you could just give us a quick breakdown, that'd be appreciated.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. It's great to have a quorum. Yay, I'm so excited. I also wanted to introduce, I don't know, for those of you who haven't met Mrs. Robinson, Blythe Robinson is our new acting town manager right now. So she's on board, and I can give her the floor after we take a vote if you have any questions or you want to say hello to her. So this order is just to move some money that we have available with the departure of the town manager and the departure of the animal control personnel. And we'd like to take and move the salaries into the expenditure line so that we can pay the consulting contracts for those two positions currently. And that's it.
All right, does anybody have any questions, comments, thoughts for Lori or even Ms. Robinson's while she's here?
Lori, just in case for those that may not necessarily be familiar with the situation where a town manager departs service and then we have an interim. Typically this type of situation happens where it goes from a salary line item to a consulting or contract or other outside service item. This is a typical process in municipal government, correct?
You got it. You're correct.
All right, thank you for that succinct summary there. All right, any other questions, comments? Do we have a motion on this order?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Thank you. Thank you. Josh, if we could do a roll call, please.
Nate,
Aye.
MJ,
Aye.
Rig. Rig, you're muted. Catherine,
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Moving right along to order FY 25-014, contractual payments. Lori, once again, I'll hand it over to you real quick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is a typical transfer order that is to fund the contractual buyouts of contractual bargaining agreements and personal contracts. And that is what this order is asking you to do.
Right, and these are obviously obligations that, contractual obligations that the town already has.
Correct.
The fact that we have an employee liability fund, that's also a plus.
doesn't get taken out of the departmental operational budget, so that's really a plus for the departments when they lose employees or we have contractual obligations, so this helps them keep their mission on point.
All right, do we have any questions, comments?
Question, Mr. Chairman?
Go right ahead, please.
Laurie, is this similar to the retirees when folks depart service? Is this covering any types of retirements, or is this just part of the contracts where they were approved and we have to pay for those contractual increases?
So thank you, MJ. It's a great question. This actual order, there is one retired police officer who has retired after many years of employment. And there are also two personal contract payouts in this particular order. One is the fire chief went from the union into a personal contract. So he was giving up, the person was giving up the union contractual obligations. And in order to fairly compensate him from him coming out of the union and giving up benefits, this was a contractual agreement that was entered into, as well as the union position of IT director, who is now moved out of that union and is now in a personal contract as the Chief Information Officer, CIO. So again, the town is trying to reduce the contractual liabilities that it was obligated with, and also take care of these employee agreements.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question, or
Yes.
maybe two.
Yes, please. Thank you, Ray. Go right ahead.
Thank you. I was curious to know, Lori, could you and I apologize, I'm driving, but I'm attentive to what's going on.
Okay, sure.
Lori, could you please so I heard contractual contracts and I heard union. Could you maybe give the difference between contractual and union, and also when did this go into effect in terms of is someone who was under a union sort of structure transition or matriculate into a contractual structure? And is this something that was initiated by the town? Is it cost saving to the town, to taxpayers? I'm just trying to wrap my head around, this process.
Yeah, so Rig, I'm gonna let our acting town manager Blythe answer, because she answered it so eloquently in the budget and the town council subcommittee, so she can give you that answer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. So in both the case of the fire chief and the IT director, they were both in established unions within the town. The chief in the firefighters union and the IT director, I think, in the USW union. And in those unions, they enjoyed a certain amount of sick time that they were able to grow into a balance. And on those contracts, especially for longstanding employees, might have enabled them to have a payout of that time when they left town's employment. And so when in the case of the fire chief, when he was promoted from his I think deputy position into the chief's position, he went from being a union employee to non-union, and essentially was giving up those benefits. And so in order to encourage him into that position and take that liability off the books, the town agreed in the new contract that he was given to pay him out that which was on the books. And that's basically what happened with both employees, just slightly different circumstances.
Is this a one-time payout?
Yes.
Versus, okay. And then, I'm sorry, does that payout also include like healthcare benefits and Because I'm assuming that someone's in a union, they would maintain, certain benefits around healthcare and things like that. But this contractual contract is a one-time payout. What else comes with it?
So they would still continue to receive vacation time, health insurance, personal days, holidays, all those sorts of things, but non-union employees don't enjoy a payout of time that they've banked over the years. And that's one thing that employees who are giving up when they leave the union, go into a non-union position. So this is a matter of taking these two particular positions, promoting them into the roles they're in now, and taking the obligation the town had off the books. And also, when they're going into a non-union position, they're not growing that, they're not going to get that benefit in the future. So it's actually cutting it off at a lower cost. Say if they work 5 more years for the town, their pay rate, 5 years later would be higher than it is today, or when this happened. So in a sense, it's a somewhat of a, small, but is it cost savings to pay them for it when they transfer it out, rather than wait to pay it later when they actually, leave the town's employment altogether.
But they do maintain, the town is still responsible for health insurance.
Oh, yes.
And
that
and
doesn't go
those-
away.
Okay. And do we have, or is there sort of like a projective model that shows who else might be coming up that have a similar deal, or similar agreement?
Well, I think that, so I can't predict who might be promoted into a job, except to say, let's just say sometime in the future, Chief Del Monte chooses to retire and the town chooses to promote somebody from within. You could have a similar situation that you're experiencing right now. Otherwise, when like this police officer who retired, which is the item in the police salary line, as other officers who have long tenure with the town and had the right to that benefit leave, there will be payouts for those sorts of things.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the response.
Sure.
All right, thank you, Rig and MJ. Great questions as always from the committee. Any more? Do we have any other questions, comments?
Motion to approve?
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, sounded like Rig was first there. Josh, if you could do a roll call for us, please.
Nate,
Aye.
MJ,
Aye.
Rig,
If I'm gonna say aye, but if I may just make this thought, it would be great if the town can provide the committee with some analysis of, some comparative analysis that shows what would it be for someone who is in a union? What would those benefits look like in terms of dollar amount versus matriculating from a union to a contractual, especially if we're going to be anticipating perhaps more of these coming down the pike. But I'm going to say aye.
Catherine,
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
All right, thank you, everyone. Moving right along to our next order, FY 25-015. It's a transfer order, Public Education Government / PEG for Town Council Chambers. Lori, real quick, Ms.
Yep.
Robinson?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is a transfer order out of the funds that the town receives from an agreement with the with our provider Comcast, with the percentage that we receive from them that is earmarked for public education with Bridgewater Television. So the town has a special, it's called a receipts for appropriation account that builds up, and that can only be used for things related to public TV for the residents. So this is going to improve, or it already has improved. We've already purchased the IT, did some upgrades. The chamber Council Chambers is about 10 years old, so we needed to spend some money so that the streaming could be on YouTube as opposed to what it was on Zoom and earlier. So it's for technology and improves while BTV is airing the public meetings over stream service now. So everything's streaming. So this is just to get it in line with the streaming industry.
Specifically, we purchased an encoder and I think we're upgrading some microphones.
Okay, and it is correct to state that this is not town money. This is money that we receive from Comcast from fees that they collect locally, correct? To fund our local BTV here in town.
That's
Correct?
correct. Currently, the fund has 77,000 over the last few years that we haven't really spent, but you know, we're looking to upgrade a few things in the future, but the IT will send any other requests through this manner to spend any of that money.
And essentially, these fees originate in the fact that cable companies, as they use public right of ways to lay their equipment, right, was a way to reimburse the towns and the public. But you know, somehow, if I believe correctly, they pushed it on to the consumer. So
Yeah,
we all
it's actually a fee that everyone who has
Pays,
cable
yeah.
service pays for. And one of the issues that communities are having going forward is that as people quote, cut the cable,
Yeah.
and just, you know, have internet service, say stream content or be online, those fees are starting to go down. And so it's gonna be a real issue for some communities in the future because that source of revenue is gonna really dwindle.
And it does provide an important service, such
Yeah.
as, you know, streaming our town council meetings and other meetings as well. And other important town events. All right, do we have any other questions, comments, thoughts on this one?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I do have a question.
Yes, please.
I'm just curious, as far as the fee itself, how is that determined? Does Comcast determine that? Does the town? Is there some sort of formula that's used to determine what towns pay or I'm sorry, what customers pay?
I don't recall if it's set by the state or it's a part of an agreement. Most communities have an agreement with their cable provider. It's either there or with the state. I don't recall.
Yeah, we do have an agreement with Comcast. It's about a 200-page agreement. But yeah, it is an agreement with Comcast as the local provider, so.
And I did
It's
hear
only
that-
it's only a dollar or two or three. It's not a lot each month, but it does, like I said, as people decide they're just gonna stream and not actually buy cable service is the issue that communities are gonna face.
Right. Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question. Another good question. Anyone else?
Motion to approve?
Thank you, MJ.
Second,
Thank you, Lee, for the second. Josh, if you could do a roll call, please.
Nate,
Aye.
MJ,
Aye.
Rig,
Aye.
Catherine,
Aye.
Lee.
aye.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
All right, thank you, everyone. Let's see, we have our last new business this evening, FY 25-016. Acceptance of gift from Bridgewater State University. This is something that the town gets annually. And it's split up, as you can see, between 3 different departments. I just have one quick question. I've seen this so many times over the years. Has this gone up at all? Or is this still the same amount we've seen for?
It's still the same amount, so I don't know where this amount came from, other than you know, I know it's always asked at the council level too about the university giving us this donation to use for public safety services, meaning highway, police and fire. We split it 3 ways, so each department gets about 18,000, you know, 300 and some odd dollars. So the only thing I can think is because the college knows that they don't pay real estate taxes, but they're part of the state's formula of state-owned land that is sent to the town on a monthly basis through the cherry sheets and the local aid disbursements. So yeah, I think Blythe has some information as far as what the state-owned land does give to the town, because they're not assessed for tax value, but I can just tell you over the last 10 years, the Bridgewater State University has given about almost $600,000. So, you know, I think one year they gave us 100, and then maybe one year was 60, and then it just settled down to 55, and I'm not really sure why, but that's what it's been over probably the last 7 years, but all in all, it's been about 600,000 over the last 10 years that they've given this money every year for the departments to use as far as something that they need for their operations that may not have been budgeted. So I know the highway certainly will use it when they buy a piece of equipment that maybe they didn't have in their operation budget. So and the police and fire always have, you know, extra expenses that they somehow didn't anticipate. So it's not a lot, but it does come in handy to those three public safety units. So hope that helps.
It is a gift and it is money to the town.
Mhm. Yep.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Chairman?
Sure, go right ahead, Rick.
And I realize I do remember this from previous meetings, especially the breakdown of you know, when they used to give us $100,000 and it's significantly been reduced. This gift, I'm wondering, is this gift contingent upon student enrollment? So if student enrollment goes up, perhaps the gift goes up. And then has there been any conversations to, you know, to identifying, you know, a real amount? And I don't suggest that the amount's not real, but a more, you know, substantive amount that, you know, that could be contingent upon enrollment or, you know, other increased revenue that the college receives that should be shared with the town, or perhaps should be considered to be shared with the town.
Yeah, there's no formula from them that I'm aware of, but you know, we can certainly have those conversations with the university. Blythe, do you have anything to add with that, or?
Just that, you know, they're not obligated in any way to do this. So somehow over the years, the town has developed what I think is a strong relationship with them, and they have been generous enough to provide us with what they do. I would also note that they help us in other ways. We've had internships. They host a cybersecurity center that I think we take part in. They've pledged $100,000 towards the development of the Summer Street Park. So I would, you know, while I can perfectly understand your suggestion and thoughts about how to grow this, I think that's going to be for the next, you know, permanent town manager to develop that relationship and try to achieve that. But I would also point out that they say they are doing things for us in other ways that, you know, maybe it's not a direct cash, you know, donation, but we still benefit.
And Ray, just to fill in some of the blanks that Laurie and Blythe have discussed, having been an individual who's followed town meetings and board of selectmen meetings for many, many years and having been in attendance, it was always my understanding as well that the amount that the university, previously the college, would give the town was in some way proportional to services that were rendered, whether it was due to calls for medical services with the fire department or for assistance with keeping the peace, as it were, in the event that the police department was understaffed. BSU never really had a big police force until at least the last 5 to 10 years, and they have a much larger force now. So proportionally, the funding that we got, because it was more or less a mutual aid type of agreement previously, it evolved over the time with the relationship with the town and the university. I know it had been a bone in contention in the early days of the city council with, unfortunately, one councilor calling it peanuts, comparatively speaking, to what other towns and cities would get in lieu of taxes. But it's always been my experience as a town resident being a citizen viewer of these processes in public meetings, that this has been proportional to services that have been rendered by the town to the university, but also as it relates to different presidential administrations at the university and before that the college. And depending on how the relationship went with the town of Bridgewater and Bridgewater State College or university, that usually dictated how those funds would eventually be allocated to the municipality. Ultimately, it ended up being a mutual aid type of agreement. And what we get now is sort of a descendant of that original type of agreement, or that gentleman's accord between the town and our friends at the university. So that's sort of a little bit of the background too. And Laurie, you've worked for you've worked for Bridgewater almost as long as I've lived in the town. You know that that's sort of how the relationship has been as well. So if I missed anything, definitely fill me in. And Blythe, you definitely articulated it as well. So Rig, it is definitely something that the town of Bridgewater has had over many years and many decades, and it is certainly something that I myself, as a member of this committee, would love to see the administration going forward work with our partners in the community at the university to maybe potentially enhance that funding, or in-kind services to the municipality. There's many ways of doing synergized community sponsorship, and this is one of those many ways. And hopefully we can do that going forward in a maybe a more lucrative way. But I will leave that to the professionals that are in pay grades well above mine.
I appreciate all the above. I certainly understand, the gentleman, wink, wink. Hey, I scratch your back, you scratch my back type of deal. I guess while I am looking at it from a lucrative perspective, I'm also looking at it from a contractual perspective. Something more formal, opposed to, hey, this is what we're gonna give, or we're hoping that they give. So a more formal, sort of laid out in writing that says we're going to commit to X could potentially grow by Y given. So something more formal. So thank you for the conversations and the responses. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and I
Alright.
can just add one other thing about that, is that the university now is everybody's more professional in the last 5 or 6 years, as far as working with the police department. When the police department has coverage for Springfest, say, or some of the other big events that might be at the college. So the college actually is billed, or the university is billed by the police department for the services of the officers. So they do, provide, or the town will work with them, but they pay for everything, like, in a manner that's billed out properly, and for all the services that they may use from the town side anyway. So, and that stuff may or may not have happened because the police were just there as a, like MJ had stated. But now when the college does have these events, they're billed for it properly, and the college, or the university, I keep calling it the college, but the university does pay for all those details, whatever they are, plus the fees. So we do have other things that, they're billed for, like we're working with the shared street grants. The university will apply and get money, and they work with the town for the town to get money through the same avenue. And so they're always looking out to improve things with the town. So at no expense to the residents. So
it's an age-old problem in every community that has state-owned land. Like, I remember I lived outside of Hartford, Connecticut, and Hartford's tax rate was $72 per thousand, mostly because most of this land in downtown Hartford was state-owned land that you couldn't tax. So I think from an outsider, I can just tell you that I think the town has already established a really good relationship with them, and they're providing things that they don't have to provide. They're not required to by any means. And I think there's a great opportunity to build on all of this in the future, so.
Thank you all.
The other
Thank you,
thing-
everyone.
The
You
other
know,
thing to think about too, sorry, Mr. Chairman, the other thing to think about too, Rick, is that when you're working on trying to build a more formalized agreement between a municipality and a state agency, oftentimes you may need to actually run that contract through the general court. Most other times you will need to actually work with the head of the agency directly. Case in point, like the fields down on Flag Street. The town doesn't actually own those. It's through a agreement between the Department of Correction and the town of Bridgewater. Those fields are actually used per a contract that's renewed every few years, and I don't know when the last time it was re-signed upon, but that's more of a direct agreement with an actual state agency. Because this is a state university, it's part of the state university's system. So you may actually have to run through the general court on that. And Blythe, you might have to correct me if I'm wrong on that one, but I believe that might actually entail having to go through the general court.
It might. I'm not, I haven't had this luxury of working with a university, state university in my other community, so I'd have to bone up on it myself.
all right, and if I may, you know, this is a subject, it's easy to get deep on the weeds, and I'm a close neighbor of the university for 22 years. It's definitely a love-hate relationship. One thing that I have learned is that they don't have to do anything for the town if they don't want. Is what it comes down to. So that these different partnerships that we've seen over the years is definitely an improvement from what I've seen in the past. But I'd like to kind of focus what's in front of us right now and save some of the great ideas I just heard for future discussions. So if we can get back to FY 25-016, acceptance of this gift.
Motion to approve.
All right, thank you both, and thank you for the questions. Josh, if we could do a roll call, please.
Nate,
Aye.
MJ,
Aye.
Rig,
Aye.
Catherine,
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
All right, thank you, everyone. Moving on real quickly to additional items for discussion. I would like to bring up something. I've had the privilege of being the chair of this committee for 3 years now. When I was was given your trust to be the chair, I said I intended to serve 1 more year and then step aside for some new blood, so to speak. So Josh, I would ask you if you could put election for a chair and vice chair on for our next meeting.
Okay.
I would ask that anybody that has any interest in either position to please reach out to me. I would be happy to, you know, I kind of like to become sort of like a senior statesman, so to speak, on the committee myself. But if you have any questions, comments, anything you'd like to discuss with me, I'd love to see people step up and move this committee forward into the future. How the election works is that a motion is made. So just for example, I can't make motions, but I'm just going to do, for example, I would say, hey, I'm going to nominate Jane Doe for chair of the committee, and then we would have a second, and then we would vote like we normally do on our orders. So it's not like a ballot or anything like that. Anybody can make that recommendation, that motion, except for me. Again, I can't make any motions. But I'm excited, you know, I know that this committee can keep growing and go in a new direction. We do important work on this committee. We are a group of citizens that get the chance to meet with the town manager, the town finance director. When we get to ask some smart, hard questions of them. And I hope, I know that I have over the years that I've had a lot of great conversations with my fellow citizens, you know, down at the soccer fields, the baseball fields, up to the vets club, wherever it may be. You know, when people know you're on the finance committee, you'll start getting questions. But in the short term, like I said, anybody that is interested, please reach out to me. Reach out to me through the secretary of the committee, please. And that's it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
would it be okay if anybody mentioned their intent this evening, or would we need to wait till next meeting?
I think we have to wait for the next meeting, MJ.
Okay.
Unless, you know, Blythe, if you have a different take on that, but. I think just because it'll be part of the discussion, be part of the public record, so to speak, MJ.
Oh, I think Blythe wanted to say something, but she
Yeah,
go
I
ahead.
think you should wait just so that it's posted on your agenda.
Okay, yeah, that was my instinct. Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Okay, any other additional items? For discussion? Okay,
No,
not
sir.
here. Nope. Okay, not hearing any. We're on to our favorite part of the evening, our favorite motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, thank you. Roll call, please, Josh.
Nate,
Aye.
MJ,
Aye.
Rig.
Aye.
Catherine,
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion was approved. The meeting is adjourned.
Nice to
All right,
meet
thank
you all.
everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Thanks.
Good night, everyone.